So, hello everybody. I'm very happy to be here at 4 years from now, and there's a great feeling this morning as the energy is growing, as people are flooding in. So, and thank you all for coming to this session. Maybe I'll just let a few people sit down quickly, and then I'll start. So I'm going to talk to you about the Internet of Bodies. Alive, connected, and collective. My name's Ghislaine Boddington, and I'm part of a collective in London called Body Data Space. Our physical and virtual worlds today are blending and merging, and they're shifting our understanding of our identities, which are much more diverse, much more hypersensory and multi and hyper-enhanced, and shifting our understanding of collaboration, of co-creation, immersion and connectivity. And finally, and we can feel this here today at 4 years from now, our bodies have become the interface. As I mentioned, I work with Body Data Space. And Body Data Space, we are what we say. We work with the body and data and virtual and physical space. And we explore this space where our physical bodies and our data selves are merging and converging seamlessly. We research into live presence, and we look at it alongside our virtual presence. And we look at our avatar and our robotic integrations. And we look at our gestures and our behaviours as we expand representation of ourselves. We create live, immersive experiences which cross time and space. And we've been doing this since the early 90s. We're a group of performing artists of all types, virtual architects, virtual world people, gaming, very interdisciplinary, working together across many projects across a long time. But our key has been to put the body at the centre of the interface. And that's because we really believe in liveness, in the essence of liveness, of being here today and being able to look into different people's eyes. And actually, as you can see from this slide, you know it, the breath, the heartbeat, the immediacy of liveness. When we're actually intimately involved with each other, when we've got our presence is strong in the room, when we meet together in social scenarios like this, networking, why we all come to events like 4 years from now. And actually our liveness is always on. Our hearts are always beating, we're always breathing, even when we're asleep. And we leave places like this with incredible memories and with inspirations and with perception shifts that move us forward. So our focus is on liveness and presence, that unique real-time connectivity between humans of all over the world, emotions, involvements, belongings, our behaviours together. And we explore this translation of our natural connectivity into digital connectivity through the use of virtual and physical blended experiences. And today, we have the hypersensory self. We can go beyond liveness. We've hyper-enhanced our liveness. And as you can see from this slide, everything on this side here, we already have. In fact, most of you will have a smartphone in your pockets or hands, and there you're obviously using audio and visual, but you're also using proximity for your GPS systems. You're using gesture and touch with it. You're actually maybe came through the airport and used iris recognition instead of your normal passport route. And on this side here, biofeedback and haptics are part of our lives now, touch. With our fitness bands, we're starting to understand all of the biometrics that we can gain from our bodies, the biosignals and what they say about us and our liveness. And I can tell you that digital smell and touch are also taste are also well on their way by a variety of different pioneers. So this is the merge of a translation of the data that's coming from us in mega flows out there, and we're receiving back into us in many ways. And we use them to interact. We use voice to bring up an image. We use touch to change things on screens. Our physical and data selves start to merge. There's one difference: we can turn it off, of course. In our work, we started working with telepresence very early on. We did a whole series of remote stage connectivities all over the world between dancers, a theatre-based set of work in the 90s. We looked at our skin as the interaction canvas for this. We did performances, we exchanged our body knowledge, we shared creative knowledge amongst many people. We looked at digital intimacy in particular, trying to explore teleintuition, layering skin upon skin, connecting with real-time telepresence across stages. We looked at digital intimacy with our avatars, playing real-time and dancing with avatars of ourselves and others. We explored digital intimacy with robots. This is a project called The Blind Robot. The blind robot touches your face to find out about you, an intimate encounter. And also, we've taken a big interest in what we call collaborative share spaces. We all take part in collaborative share spaces. We put the I into the middle with the we, and we join in our web pages, in our blogs and forums. We join in our social medias to exchange. This is becoming more complex as multiplayer scenarios come for gaming. We've all got experience of this today. But yet, this is still screen-based. This is still the headset, the telephone, the computer screen. Some public facade interfaces are starting to happen where we can interact. We use our eyes and we use our ears, and we're using our hands more and more. And we'll see many examples of that this week here. But we rarely engage the full body in our data immersion. So we are exploring onwards as a long-term collective what we call the Internet of Bodies. And it's this space in the middle, this collaborative share space, where perhaps we can explore deeper collective embodiment and where we can come together with positive emotions, where we can all participate and where we can take part in real-time physical spaces across time, across distance, and connect in groups. Some examples of this we worked on in the last 10 years. This is a piece we did at the National Theatre in London as part of the Olympics. It was a connected virtual world for full body immersion, and it linked 4 cities live stream between London, Brussels, Istanbul and Paris. In this work, you entered the portal in all 4 cities and you entered a huge virtual sim with a moon in the middle. You had your own colour linked to city, your ripple as your heartbeat going out, and your own sound which identified you. And we gave people a very simple task of actually trying to meet each other and hug in this virtual space. Another piece more recent is called Collective Reality. We were playing with the whole thing of full body in immersive, generative audio-visual. A large-scale piece. It's brought in 2,000 people at a time to play together and dance, to experience togetherness. Again, we emphasized intimacy, looking at hugging, looking at how we can merge. And we set the algorithms that actually the audio and visual was much more creative, much more reactive, the more you did work together within this space. And then we took this piece to an amazing immersion space. In Montreal, the SAT Dome. A dome which is for 300 people to be immersed together with no wearables, with nothing on their bodies at all, but to work together in a 210-degree sphere, fully mapped with projectors and with over 150 speakers embedded in a surround sound system. And here we showed collective reality, exploring this with people participating, with the artists in the middle of the room too. And today, actually, here at a Catalonian group, Brumex, are showing a much smaller version of immersion. Do go and see it, where you can actually immerse yourselves in dinner parties. You can use in the home, in your bedroom, covering the walls around you with immersion. No wearables, nothing on you. Now back to the body. This is a slide I made about 20 years ago. I use it in all of my work, and obviously it starts with the human at the center. But from this period on, we've been looking at how the human moves towards the cyborg and how we move towards the avatar. And I'm going to explore a few of these with you now in this next section of my presentation. How many of you have heard of Steve Mann? Hey, great. Steve Mann's a very important early pioneer cyborg. He invented glasses to augment the world with different images in 1980. And he took that right through to, and is acknowledged by the bigger businesses, of being the father of wearables and of augmented reality. He's still doing great work, so check him out. And Donna Haraway with a Cyborg Handbook in 1995, a great book to look at for the history of pioneer thinking about the body and technology coming together. Stellark, who has heard of Stellark? Yeah, great. A very important Australian artist, long-term work on actually changing his body, transforming it, actually putting tiny wires into the body and moving different parts of the body and add-ons through quite full-on endurance performances. Today, many artists are exploring these areas. This is just the example of two. Marco Donnarumma, at the bottom here, actually is based in Berlin now, Italian artist. He's actually working with bands and with wires in very deep, tiny proprioceptive muscle motion, blood flow. The sounds are changed around him from the actual biosignals from his body. He shifts images around his space. And Mark Farid, an Egyptian-British artist based in London, is preparing for Seeing Eye, a 24-day, 28-hour installation in VR, where he will be, and he's psychologically preparing for this, receiving live, full-time, the stream of another person's life. But I'm not so sure about these big wearables on our heads. These ideas go way back in time. Here's Hugo Gernsback, the inventor of sci-fi, really, and a spoof data glass. We're not going to be doing this. And we really need to look beyond this, deeper into the body. Because this is not intimate. This is actually a disembodiment situation. And this is not what humans are about. We talk about digital loneliness, and we talk about isolation coming from the digital age. Well, this is ridiculous, yeah? This is where we've got to go, into a much more immersive environment. Here, I really enjoyed working in Montreal with VR software programmers, dancing through immersive space with me. We did hundreds of people came through these runs, these workshops, and learnt loads about collective embodiment, which they took back into their coding and into their environments. Implants. I'm going to talk now for the final section about implants. Implants are internalized. Implants can be personalized to your own needs. There's nothing external on the body. We can still use our natural movement. You transmit your body data outwards, and you receive and control other data in return. These tiny little chips are being put in, grain of rice size, many of them, in implant parties which are happening all over Europe and actually in many places in the world, with queues of young people wanting implants, which they can do quick touch scenarios, replacing their key fobs, their travel cards, their credit cards, and feeling heat from a distance, or actually knowing more about the world around them. Proof of this? Swedish Rail have just actually implanted, and I think it's over 3,000 businessmen now, for their travel passes for the year. Here you see, and this was 2 years ago, many businessmen going towards getting rid of the extra thing in the pocket. And additionally, let's look at 4 years from now. Will the 18th birthday present then be your child, your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews asking for the implant? Not the next mobile phone, but the implant. Connected bodies already exist. Another pioneer, Professor Kevin Warwick, who's done years of research on implants of all types, all materials in all parts of the body, is connected to his partner, also an implant pioneer, and they share their data and they share their digital systems. And Manel Munzo, who's actually based here in Barcelona, is one of several cyborg artists. Actually, he has installed barometric sensors into his body to feel atmospheric pressure. He can tell whether rain is coming or not, and he can also feel altitude. He's part of the Cyborg Foundation, and he co-founded the Transspecies Society, which gives a voice to people who are shifting, who are mutating and transforming their bodies, who don't identify as 100% human. And they are collaborating on a cyborg Bill of Rights. I said to you I come from a dance background, performing arts. I work a lot with dancers still. And here, this is an app with sensors attached to it on the ballet shoe, as you can see here, which actually takes the floor patterns from any dancer moving, and enables them to see them later for reconstruction, for checking their rehearsals. When I talk to large groups of ballet people about this, and I suggest that they won't need to have them on the ballet shoe, they can have the implant in their big toes, and who will? 80% of them will put their hands up. Implants have come through from a worrying area to something which is very useful in our world. Other areas to do with the skin, to do with the body, smart skin circuits, stretchy electronics that you can put onto your skin to receive and transmit data. They replicate a sense of touch. They give information on sun exposure. They're very useful for medical, like diabetes, etc., giving the biofeedback vibrating on need. And cybernetic contact lenses are not far off. There's a lot of work on development of this. They will be similar to glasses today, giving us instruction, direction for work, for play, and for people with mobility issues, a huge, huge help. Millibots, milli-robots that swim through our bodies, already in use in medical. They take particular drugs to the precise place in the body that it's needed, tumours. They receive and transmit data. What will their use be in the future? And digital tattoos, transmitting and receiving data, spray-on skins and programmable gels, all being developed in the robotics world, but will be able to be used with human bodies too in the long run. Keep an eye on pioneer artists and pioneer roboticists. There's a lot that they're doing which will translate into our more humanized digital world. However, we do need to look at the ethics of this. And at 4 years from now, we're in the right place to discuss that. How do we look at our personal body data? Who owns it? Whose rights to use of it? Who controls that usage? How can we enable a win-win situation for all that are involved in the use of body data? Should we have our own personal dashboards? I would like that. I'd like my own personal data dashboard. And as AI emerges and actually crosses over with human intelligence, how do we create a sound, moral and social framework for that ongoing conversation and collaboration between AI and ourselves? And please remember, even in this business environment, we are all participants in this. And the use of our body data affects all of us. And the decisions that we make now in the next 4 years are the decisions which will affect our families, our children, and our grandchildren onwards. So keep the ethics in mind. There's a lot happening on ethics and AI and ethics and implants. Watch it, look for it. There's a lot of reports out there. So, just to wrap up, Body Data Space believes the future of collaborative share space is much more than websites and blogs. Into this central IWE space, we can bring gesture tech and sense tech, avatars and robotics, virtual worlds, a mixed reality of the physical and the digital together. And how do we move forward on this to use the whole body in our natural way in data immersion? How do we network and connect to each other across the world, sharing our content and knowledge, and trying to find more positive solutions for what we must admit is not a great place at the moment? And actually, Just to point out to you, 3,000 immersion domes are being built in China in the next 5 years for education, for entertainment, for many uses. We need to start to catch up on this physical connectivity, to cross over together. There's so much to do in that special space. So the Internet of Bodies is about starting to produce a full body immersion where we can actually develop together, connected and collective, across the world, across time and space. A place where intimacy and joy and compassion can come together. A place where positive action can happen. A place where love can happen. We already have connected dildos out there, so this is to go further. How do we connect with our partners? How do we keep our intimacies going when we're all so often far apart from each other? So let's aim for a virtual physical blended experiences to be much more about the human sensory enhancement. And let's prioritize the development of personal digital intimacy. And let's enable collective embodiment to work alongside collective intelligence. There's no need for this dualism to continue between the mind-body interface. We need in all our work to bring these together. All of our feelings, all of our emotions, many of our intuitive decisions are made by a link between the body and the mind. So we need to bring the full body into our digital world in a way where the body is complemented and aided by the digital, not where the digital comes first, not where the hardware and software is made without user interfaces for us as natural human beings to engage with and to have conversations with. So this, I believe, is our inherent responsibility as human beings, to keep the human race engaged and crossing over. And this is what I call the Internet of Bodies. Thank you very much.